So this whole thing started back in 2016 when I was just 17 years old. My friends and I were always social outcasts. We were seen as the loners of the school. It never really bothered us, as we always liked to keep ourselves to ourselves anyway. However, there was a new kid who started at our school, and he seemed very shy. So we tried talking to him, as he seemed lonely, and we all know what it's like to start a new school, where you don't know anyone. I even gave him my phone number, and told him to call me if he ever needed company or just someone to talk to. I have always been a very caring person, and I don't like people to feel sad or lonely. About a week passed, we slowly got to know the guy, and for this, we'll call him Dylan. Now, we were a weird group, but Dylan just seemed creepy weird. He would always talk to us about what it would be like to kill somebody, and if we've ever thought about it. We all agreed he was too weird, and kept trying to avoid him during school. And by this point, I regretted giving him my number, even though he never once called me. It was Friday, and the school had just finished for the week. Me and my friends were walking home. I then split off from the group when we arrived at my house. I got into the nice smell of dinner. I was so hungry from the walk home. I sat down to the table with my mum, dad, and younger brother. We began talking about how our days were, and I mentioned Dylan to my dad. We talked about how strange he was, and all the weird questions he would ask. My dad did say that was a very strange thing for someone to be talking about. But he did then tell me that Dylan was a foster kid, and had recently been fostered by the people my dad used to work for. They were close friends of the family, so I was a little bit shocked, and I felt somewhat guilty about avoiding him. Now I had found out about him being fostered, I thought I'd talk to him on Monday. I'd probably end up telling him a lie as to why we were avoiding him. I come up with something like, "Oh, we just didn't see you," or "We were busy with schoolwork." About 2 hours after dinner, I had just come out of the shower and walked into my room. I happened to check my phone to see what the time was, and noticed I had received a message a few minutes ago. It was from Dylan. It said, "Hey, did you enjoy that shower?" My heart dropped, and I began to feel sick. I quickly got dressed and ran downstairs to show my dad the text. He told me just to block the number and that he would have a word with Dylan's foster parents in the morning. I stupidly ignored my dad's advice to block the number. I went back upstairs, closed my blinds, got into bed and turned my TV on. I usually have my TV on while I'm trying to sleep as the background noise relaxes me. I was just dozing off when I heard my phone ping. It was another text. It was from Dylan. "Are you awake?" I replied this time and said, "You better stop messaging me." He then said, "Don't be like that. I thought we were friends." I put my phone on silent and went back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later to get a drink of water. I slowly headed downstairs, trying not to make any noise so that I didn't wake anyone in my house up. My stairs are very old and creaky, so I held onto the banister and didn't put my full weight on any of the steps. When I got down, I headed to the kitchen. It was very cold down there. When I got to the kitchen, I saw that my back door was slightly open. I just put it down to maybe my mum or dad leaving it open after they took out the garbage. I didn't think any more about it, shut the door, locked it, got a glass from the cupboard, got myself a drink. I went back to my room, shut my door and got back into bed. I turned my TV off, as I was half asleep anyway, so it wouldn't take much for me to fall back asleep. Just as I turned the TV off, I heard a creak. It was our wooden stairs. It sounded like someone was coming up the stairs. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen in fear. I got under the covers and pretended to be asleep. I heard my door slowly creak open. I was so scared. I had to cover my mouth so whoever it was didn't hear me breathing. I saw my phone screen light up. My door then shut, and I heard whoever it was standing at my door walk back down the stairs. I grabbed my phone. There was a message from Dylan. It said, "You look so cute when you sleep." I ran to my parents' room and showed them the message. My dad got straight up and called Dylan's foster parents. They said they would talk to Dylan and to the social worker. My dad said if he ever sees Dylan anywhere near me again, he will call the police. I still didn't feel any better. The next day, I arranged to meet up with my friend Anna. I left my house around 1 o'clock in the afternoon to walk to my friend Anna's house. To get to her house, you have to go through a wooded area, which the sun couldn't get through due to the close proximity of the trees. It formed a canopy. All I could think of was what happened last night. I got super anxious, but I proceeded to walk through slowly, breathing in and out to calm myself down. As I got halfway through, I heard the sound of twigs snapping and leaves shuffling. It sounded like someone was sprinting at me. I started to run, and then felt a massive smack on the back of my head and blacked out. I remember waking up in kind of a shed-looking building. It was quite small. I was gagged and my hands and legs were tied up with zip ties. It was so cold in there, and the floor felt kind of wet around me. I was so scared I started hyperventilating. I remember thinking I was going to die. I started thinking about my family and how I'd never get to see them again, my friends, all the stuff I'd never get to do and the places I'd never get to visit. I started actually getting quite angry at this. Now, as it was only my hands and feet tied and I wasn't actually tied to anything, I managed to shimmy myself up the wall and get on my feet. I started then hopping to a small broken window which was on the left side of the structure. It had a little bit of broken glass in it. I managed to cut through the zip ties holding my hands together. I then pulled the glass out of the window frame and sliced my hand open in the process. It took everything for me not to scream in pain. Blood started dripping onto the floor from the wound. I bent down and sawed through the zip ties holding my feet together. It was now time to get out of there. There was so little light I couldn't see a door, only this small window. I would never be able to fit through it. I started walking along the wall, feeling for a door handle. Every so often I'd bump into these large things hanging from the beams. I couldn't see what they were because it was so dark. They felt very soft and cold, almost like a pig, like pigskin. I bumped into at least 4 of them, at least. Then out of nowhere, I felt a door handle. My body filled with a feeling of happiness and relief. As I slowly opened the door to see where I was, I saw a dark figure with his back turned to me. Looking through a window of an abandoned house. I recognised this house. It was about a mile away from my house. Me and my friends used to come here as kids. I slowly crept onto the soft grass and made my way through the trees, through the housing estates and finally back onto my road. I somehow had the energy to run straight up to my house. I pounded on the door, my hands still pouring with blood. My mum opened the door. I hugged her so tightly. She looked in horror at the state of me and took me to the kitchen to clean and bandage my hand. She called my dad from upstairs and told him to come look at the state of me. I told them everything about how I was walking to Anna's house and how I felt something hit my head and blacked out. And how I woke up in that shed. The pitch of my voice changing as I started crying my eyes out. I kept telling them it had to have been Dylan, it had to have been. But I never got a good look at the person. My dad called the cops and told them where the abandoned house was. I later found out the cops went there and found Dylan in the shed chopping up bodies, and that there was 4 people dead hanging from their necks. Dylan was sent to prison for life. I was so relieved that I would never have to see him again. I don't think I can ever get over what has happened to me. I often get super anxious and paranoid when walking anywhere on my own. I won't ever be the same. I don't want to think about what could have happened to me if I didn't manage to escape. It's safe to say I won't be trying to make friends with any new kid ever again.